also trying to lovingly remind a 15-year-old child that she does not have to cram 20 years in 6 months. And that has been a challenge because like even with my doctorate, apparently I've been told by others, I said when I was working on my master's degree, I graduated from high school, went straight to college, and then I took maybe a year off before going to get my master's. And in that time, it's when I married your dad. I said apparently to your dad and to my dad that I was going to get a PhD, but I wanted to work first because I didn't want to be somebody who just went to school and didn't have any real life experience. And my goal was to finish my PhD by the time I was 45 because to me, that was a good college professor age. That's a good, that's a good elbow patch age, 45. And you could still have a good 10, 20 years of teaching after that. And so I totally forgot that I said that. I totally forgot that that was my plan. I executed that plan and didn't know it because I forgot. And then my dad was like, "Oh, I'm so proud of you because you did exactly what you said out you were going to do." And I'm like, "What did I say I was going to do?" He's like, "You said you were going to do this by this time." I'm like, "Oh, I did? Oh, okay." And it just totally didn't faze me. So I think part of it is, I mean, you're a combination of me and your dad. Yes. So that's quite literally, yes. But my mom was just like, "I'm just going to do it and it's just going to get done." And she was very matter of fact about it and just accomplished a lot. And so I got that from her of, well, okay, this is what I'm going to do. So knock it out. So I didn't have some of the stressors that she has. But again, I didn't have half we didn't have a robotics team when I was in high school. We didn't have your grandmother had Model UN. I didn't. Well, no, she had journalism. I didn't have it. I went to a good school, but I still didn't have all this stuff, right? So I had a lot less to balance, I suppose. I was in church a lot more, which is than you are.
I'm still in church.
You're in church a lot. You were in church a whole lot. But
I just live at school.
But you live at school. I had to live more at church than at school when I was growing up. But anyway, there you go.
But yeah, I think I've definitely gained that, being a workaholic from both you and Dad.
It's a gift.
Yeah, but I've also inherited that stress and that perfectionism, which is a thing that I am learning to.
Your dad.
Yeah, I know.
Just set the record straight. Like, let it be said.
Right.
She would like to know to the audience that was not her. You said I should be more like Dad. That's something I am like Dad.
Yeah, you are. And your dad is super chill and super nice and very compassionate. You're also you're an empath like your dad too. Yeah. Which is awesome.
How chill I am depends on the day and how much caffeine is in my system.
Amen.
But
the caffeine is me. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Caffeine is fun.
I do.
You see, when you don't sleep trying to get, is that camera's the one I should be looking at?
You don't have to look at any of them.
I'm looking at that camera. Okay. So when people tell you, specifically your teacher, specifically your freshman biology teacher, tell you to sleep more because just because your grades are good does not mean you should abandon sleep. Remind them that God created caffeine for a reason, and that is my advice to you.
That is not the official advice of our platform, so
that is the advice of a high schooler who does not believe in sleep. So there's that.
A lot of high schoolers who believe in sleep.
Sleep is a social construct.
I think it's more of a biological one, quite frankly.
Well, we can debate that later.
All right, so looking at our time, so I think have time for like one more question. So kind of coming back, I think this is one of the questions I really, really want to make sure I ask. So we're in our world. There's a lot of heated opinions and division and separation across, genders, across races, across politics, across religion. Like it's just everyone's like at each other. This movie, Encanto, is very specifically seeming like there's generational tension. How do you both think, what's one action step you think we either as the church, as, just humans in America, whatever, however you want to tackle it, what do you think is one action step we can take to bridge the gap between generations and maybe ease some of that frustration?
Maybe if we chilled on the accusing each other of certain things, in terms of like what older generations have accused people about my age, is that we like don't want to work or that we have no work ethic. I can tell you from all of my friends who are also workaholics and do too much that we do things. We may do things differently, but there are definitely people who just if we chill, okay, we're going to chill with the accusations. And I think trying to, I don't know things. Mom, you know things.
That's a great answer, though. I like that.
Yeah.
This is my transition for you talking.
Okay. Yes, the
Speak,
the
mother.
journalist stare. And what do you have to say?
Speak, mother.
Yeah. Well, the chill with the accusations. Also, certain things are not necessarily generational, but lifespan. And Anthony and I were talking about this the other day. Everybody, I don't care what generation you are in, everybody at 15 thinks like a 15-year-old, whether you're a baby boomer at 15 or you're Gen Z at 15.
Gen Alpha isn't 15 yet.
Okay, right.
I needed to remind myself.
Okay. If you're like, there are just certain things you think and you believe before you get married or before you have kids or, before you have a mortgage. My brothers and I got along so much better once we all started paying rent. It's amazing how that life event just, you know what? Life sucks for all of us. Let's get along, right? So I think there's this blurring or this confusion between what is really like a Gen X thing or a Gen Y or a Gen Z, or what is just, this is where you are in life. Because when you kind of look at it that way, you can relate better if you've been through that phase or if you're in that or having that lived experience. I think the other issue around generations is, and many other things, is just relationships. If you have decided that the only people you can listen to and respect are your age specifically, and that you don't have anything to learn from anybody older or younger than you, you're going to be challenged, and you're going to miss out on some richness of what a younger person can teach you or what an older person can teach you. There's this great line in Lenny Kravitz's song saying, "Old enough to see behind me, but young enough to feel my soul." Right? And when we don't have real relationships with other people, and that's one of the beautiful things about, Epico Sherman Park, is having those intergenerational, real, authentic relationships where, Layla is 15, but she is working right next to a baby boomer, and they're having a great time in that tech booth together, right? Because they have built a genuine relationship. But if you're like, oh, she's a baby and there's nothing I can learn from her, or, hey, here, get out of the way, boomer, there's tech involved and this is not your space.
You can't swipe.
Right. You don't know how to, you don't know what this button does, then there's conflict and unnecessarily so. I don't know what's happened with, true mentorship, where you would genuinely take somebody under your wing and really journey with people. I think it's all been unfortunately commercialized, where you're like, oh, for this monthly fee, join my coaching program, or for this monthly fee, join my mentorship program, instead of organic, authentic relationships. So, that's, I think, part of the challenge is, let's not accuse everybody of everything every 5 minutes and actually get to know one another.
Yeah, that's great. Go for it.
And then to expand on that again with the in being at different stages of life, in terms of a 15-year-old is going to act 15 no matter when they were 15. I think sometimes, I don't want to accuse people of things because I said not to do that. But I feel like sometimes people who are older tend to forget that we are younger and that we don't know things, but just because we haven't lived that experience doesn't mean that our opinions are invalid, because I mean that's still our experience and that's still something that matters to us. And it is very much of a like relational thing, like especially with between, it's like these the generations that are in conflict is like parents and their children. It's like, we are your parents and we raised you, therefore, and we are the authority in your life, therefore listen, please. They probably don't say please, but
I say please
Well,
every
I'm not-
once in a while.
I'm not talking about you specifically.
I'm just-
Your average generic
your
parent.
average-
who's,
Average generic
Typical
older human
Right.
being who
Yeah.
has probably created another younger, smaller human being. You know, and there's just that, and then like again, learning to listen to people who have different opinions based off of experience, because our experience base is forms our opinions, and you know, times change. COVID wasn't a thing when you were in middle school. It was a thing when I was in middle school. I only had one full in-year person of middle school,
Yeah, that was a
in-person year.
That was a
of
rough
middle school.
one.
that was a rough one.
It
Yeah.
was interesting times
Yeah,
to be
for sure.
12.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you know, things change, people change. Listen, don't go accusing people. Yeah.
No, I think those are great answers, and I'll connect it back as we close to Encanto. That I think is one of the scenes that hits me the hardest is when Maribel and Abuela are sharing their stories together, and I think, like you said, Linda, that we don't know how to build relationships, and I think one of the easiest ways is to literally just share in a healthy boundary, honoring way what your story is.
Right.
You know, like Abuela was like, I went through some stuff, and Maribel was like, oh snap, that was a lot.
Yeah.
And Maribel's like, okay, but like you did some stuff to me, and she was like, whoa, that was uncool. And there's like a humility and a banishing of the pride that I think causes, kind of like you were saying,
Yeah.
like if I can't learn from you just because you're young, or if you have nothing to say because you're old, that's not good for either side.
And the only thing, like in that scene, or like towards the end of that scene, when Bruno shows up, I'm choosing to believe that Abuela knew he was there all along, because she was
Sure.
super chill about her lost prodigal son coming back. I'm
Interesting.
like, she was like, oh, hey, sweetie, get on the horse, let's go. And I'm like, hasn't he been missing for like 10 years? Why are you? And she was just like, hey, how you doing, sweetie? Yeah, I love you. Okay, it's all right. And he's like, did I miss something? I'm like, she didn't want to ruin
She
the
didn't
vibe.
want to ruin the vibe.
I mean, she could have. I would have. If you were missing for 10 years, I would be, ugly crying. And she was just like, hey, what's up? Let's get on this horse and go home.
Okay, but like well, actually, no, you wouldn't have a grandchild because I'm your only child. But if some, like, I'm going to say adoptive grandchild, and you and some adoptive grandchild just had a great bonding session, and you are in this thematically, like, we are banishing the pride, look at this collective wisdom we have gained from listening to each other. I feel like, I don't know, would you start ugly crying anyway, or?
Yeah, because I
Okay.
love you too.
I love you too.
Okay.
I think
That's such a beautiful moment to close on.
What's wrong with you? I love you. Of course, I'm gonna ugly cry.
That's
Okay.
awesome.
That's what I do.
love it.
It's a movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Awesome. Well, thank you, Linda and Layla. This is super insightful. There was just awesome to hear both of your perspectives. So thanks
Yeah.
for sharing your thoughts and
Not a problem.
showing up. This is Parable Arrows. Thanks for checking us out. We'll catch you on the next video and see you later.
Deuces.